YouTube is the second largest search engine behind its parent company Google. It has over 2.6 billion monthly active users, and with billions of hours of video generated and viewed every day, it ain't hard to understand why the nearly 40 million active YouTube channels as of 2022 are battling for a piece of that space. YouTube has earned its position as a valid source of entertainment, education, and arguably a business, as made evident by so many creators being paid out by AdSense, brand deals, sponsorships, merch, and other ventures. In fact, in the US, now over 50% of children between the ages of 6 and 17 want to be YouTubers as a career choice, compared to around 18% of Chinese kids. And why not, right? It's so easy. The barrier of entry is way low. Startup costs are basically just a few minutes out of your day for recording, and all you really need is your cell phone and a connection to the internet. You just start recording and uploading and soon begin to see all the views come in and all these new opportunities to make lots of money. It can't get any easier, or so it would seem. Out of those billions of users on the platform, about 114 million decided to become content creators. Merely a fraction, I know, and one would probably think that maybe that would be their green light into less competition. That is, until I mentioned that out of that 114 million, less than 30 million of them have earned 100 subscribers. Decreasing still is the number of creators that have made it to 1,000 subscribers, which sits at about 10 million. About 2 million have earned 10,000 subscribers, and for what it's worth, this is the tier I currently rest at. 300,000 creators have 100,000 subscribers, and about 30,000 creators have made it to 1 million subscribers. The reason I'm even mentioning these metrics, it's not really because a subscriber count is even where the bulk of any real value lies anymore, but more to the point of why there are so few creators the higher the tier than someone might have otherwise assumed. But more on this later in the video. It should be common knowledge by now to know that if you want to become successful on YouTube, success being defined in this example as maintaining a substantial amount of views and watch time, earning a substantial amount of new followers, and possibly being able to sustain yourself financially, then you have to grow your channel. And to do this requires preparation and opportunity. But it also requires a little bit of luck. Now, if you didn't rage quit and click away when I said that, thank you, and I would definitely love to explain. But first, to understand why I've come to this conclusion, you first have to know how I even got here. See, my story has to at least make sense to you before you can fairly rule out my opinion. For better or for worse, I am a student of the art of video making, film, and cinema. Since as far back as I can remember, I've loved it. The day I was able to buy my first video camera is quite possibly one of the best days of my life. And it wasn't just the idea of having my very own camera, but it was more of what the camera allowed me to do. In my mind, I was able to start putting together all my ideas and begin formatting my very own movies whenever I wanted. Then I realized that there was so much more than just recording myself, because my videos were pretty much just home movies, and I needed to learn so much more. Suffice to say, life would get in the way for a great number of years before I was able to return to my love and passion for video. Outside of a little bit of pre-vlog era vlogging and some travel videos, I didn't do much in the way of video work until about 2017, when I finally decided to give YouTube a real try. I can vividly remember feeling so excited and motivated each time I watched my favorite YouTubers doing their thing. Everyone seemed to be having so much fun and doing what they loved, and most at the time were doing it all on their own. So this was perfect for me, because I too had a camera, a computer, internet, and the freedom to showcase my life or whatever creative project I wanted, just like them. Nothing was really holding me back, so I figured I'm just gonna get after it. Somewhere in this stage is where we learn one of the hardest lessons in our YouTube journeys. And it's that after everything we record and upload, getting videos onto the platform is only part of the effort. And for the vast majority, that effort is not nearly enough to get the desired results. And so begins what I call stage 2, the hope stage. And this is the stage where I think most become okay with going outside of themselves. You start to seek the knowledge of those that have successfully done it before you. A great deal of time has elapsed, you've done what you know how to do, but your channel just isn't performing how you had hoped by this point. You're missing something, and you've decided that maybe you just need help. Maybe you just want help getting people to subscribe, or maybe you just want help increasing your channel views, or maybe you just want help transitioning into a business.
Oh, look at that!
You found your hope. What better way to understand what to do on YouTube than to get it from a YouTube guru, right? Kinda wrong. So despite the vibe you might pick up from these gurus or advice channels content, despite the very convincing spew of YouTube knowledge, experience, and insider analytical mumbo jumbo, these so-called gurus don't have the answer. A lot of their own channel standings don't even represent what they claim to be so knowledgeable on. Meaning that according to Social Blade, most, if not every one of them, have all but stalled out on their own personal growth, something that they promote to us that we should be able to do simply by following their tips and advice.
And the thing is, we don't actually know what criteria YouTube uses to pick one video over another. We know that watch time is certainly a factor, but is that really useful information make videos that people want to watch? As for titles, thumbnails, hashtags, and other metadata, people will claim they know how to control this stuff, they will show you charts and graphs to prove it, but correlation does not equal causation. And how much these techniques actually work, we cannot know and never will.
For those ones that do grow a significant audience and channel, that target audience is full of other desperate creators that only want to be successful on YouTube. Do you think the creators with the YouTube path that most actually aspire to emulate are subscribed and watching YouTube guru channels? You think any of them ever did? Obviously I can't say, but it's debatable. Advice channel audiences are full of hopefuls, not necessarily successfuls. And a new hopeful is added to the millions and millions of already hopefuls on the platform already. Now listen, I already know that me saying this is going to get emotions stirred. People making outlier arguments and only championing the exceptions. And I ain't even trying to go all deep into that in this video. Look, there are many videos out there already with other creators exposing this exact issue, so I'm not alone. And if so many people, strangers that don't even know each other, are recognizing this, then I personally think it's worth at least thinking about.
Our circumstances and psychology conspire to make us oblivious to our own luck. This leads successful people to view the world as fair and those less successful than them as less talented or less hardworking. And I think the best advice is paradoxical. First, you must believe that you are in complete control of your destiny and that your success comes down only to your own talent and hard work. Second, you've got to know that's not true for you or anyone else. So you have to remember, if you do achieve success, that luck played a significant role, and given your good fortune, you should do what you can to increase the luck of others.
Some of them say this much better than I ever could, so if I remember, I'll add links. No one is saying that the info advice channels provide isn't helpful in some capacity. Sure, there are tools and processes that will give you a better chance at succeeding or continuing success. And there are maybe many channels that have gone on to find some kind of success after or while doing what the gurus suggest. But why isn't this kind of winning way more repeatable with those pieces of advice? Let's keep it a stack. How many of us have done everything we've been told to do over and over again, done all the things, and yet still our results never match up? If these are the keys to winning on this platform, then where are the repeatable and undeniable results? There should be way more testimonies with proof about how this channel's ABCs of growth and expansion worked like a charm. We should see massively high percentage of those stories, but we don't. With a 90% failure rate, most of us will not even make it. Luck matters. Because without it, everyone could and would just do the 1, 2, and 3 steps to making it, and everyone would just grow million sub channels, 100K views per week channels, financially sustainable channels. Right? And listen, don't talk to me about hard work, because of course hard work, but the success you want is guaranteed to require some kind of break. Hopefully the hard work you've contributed prior to that moment will aid in your continued success after your break, after your streak of luck. Just don't even pretend that you don't know at least one creator putting to action all of the things yet still can't find their way, because we're out here, and it's not a guru or anyone's place to ever question another's drive, dedication, work ethic, motivation, persistence levels, or intelligence. Because apparently when all the things don't come through for you, well, it must have been your implementation that's to blame. Because look, it worked for these people over here. Okay, 90% failure rate. You can big up the examples in the 10% all day, but what do you say about the other 90%? So look, I know people have high hopes when they start looking to them, but YouTube advice channels typically won't give you the real harsh answer. So in my opinion, this final stage is the most important one for any creator that has been through the ringer trying to grow or become successful on YouTube. It's the stage I think a lot of hopeful creators attempt to ignore, possibly from a little bit of innocence, but sometimes out of denial as well. Look, no one likes not being in control of their shit. No one wants to face the idea that the fate of something they hold so dear to them, whether good or bad, is ultimately not even up to them. Especially when every single step in the process prior to the upload is in fact in their control. Trying your best, constantly coming up with ideas, implementing all the right processes, researching, using all the right tools, and staying dedicated to it week after week, month after month, year after year, only to not see the desired returns on that effort is disheartening at best. But it's also humbling. And if your journey has done its job and humbled you, then welcome to stage 3. So after chatting with groups and subreddits and some fellow smaller creators that I know, it's at this point I find that a substantial number of creators, including you, are kind of at a fork in their journey. Either one, YouTube has become so much that you just walked away from it altogether, or two, you've made peace with the fact that Michelle, Kari, Casey, Marquez, and Jimmy are Michelle, Casey, Marquez, and Jimmy. And you are you. While all of those creators seem to tick all the boxes for what it takes to succeed on the platform, that absolutely does not guarantee any of us that same success should we choose to decide to mimic their path. Why do you think there are so few of them? It's why there aren't thousands and thousands of Caseys at Casey's level. Chances are that one of you watching this video is magnificent at vlogging, rides an e-vehicle through a major city telling stories just like he does. And there's a chance that you're just as interesting. And you might tick all the guru's boxes. Trust me, I know the frustration, but maybe keep going. You could get lucky one day. Look, I want people to achieve their YouTube goals. I do. And when and if people do, congratulations to them. But what I really wish people would quit doing is once they reach respectable milestones, is talking like the box ticking alone is what did it. Oh, I've been making videos for 15 years and I'm finally seeing some significant growth. This is what happens with hard work, bro. No, you finally got lucky. As if someone out there hasn't achieved what you have in less time. Did you not want this 15 years ago? No one makes a success plan for YouTube for that far out on purpose. The intent is to have it be successful as soon as possible. You've wanted it every single year prior to it happening. If you had it your way, you would have achieved it in the year prior, 3, 4, 5 years prior. Stop with this. If you are a new or small creator, by this point in the video, you're probably feeling pretty discouraged. Everything offered in this video thus far doesn't really offer much in the way of encouragement. I'm with you. I'm not a YouTube advice channel, and like them, I just don't have all the answers. But if anyone just starting out were to ask me, the very first thing I would say is do not, absolutely don't go into this motivated by fame and fortune. That's gonna break your heart faster than anything. The second thing I would say is, and this is probably more important, is that if you have a passion for something, keep it about that and that only. Dive straight into that and figure out how you can get more out of that, grow that, improve that, expand that, but just seek the happy from creating over anything else. Because in the end, none of this other stuff really matters. Your happiness and self-fulfillment should be priority, not necessarily a bunch of numbers and algorithms, which are those of which I would suggest lastly to ignore. Now, not to be naive, I know that at a certain point in the journey or career, a certain acknowledgement to those things becomes somewhat necessary. But remember, this is aimed at new and or small creators. Analytics by far should not be your concern. While we're trying to live out our passions, what gets in the way is that constant hunt for the next dopamine hit that comes from the validation of our YouTube studios and analytics. Achieving 1 out of 10 view ranking and getting stimulating little graphics. That does something to us. It's watching a video get crazy views and seeing the numbers increase by the day. It's having hundreds or thousands of strangers choose to follow you and become part of your community. There's literally no greater feeling. But that tends to come in waves, so when that stops, and it will, so does how good you felt during. And then what's left? Nothing but you and the content, which is how it all began. Now it'll be your choice if you want to engage in the cat and mouse chase to constantly recapture the glory. But it seems to me that if you can just be happy creating, your mental health is in way better hands. And y'all, please don't misunderstand the context of this video. The point is not to shit all over advice channels, nor is it to say that pursuing YouTube is a lost cause. And there are a few advice channels that don't preach false hope. I just really think that the full story should be told about this stuff. Yes, the advice that gurus give can be beneficial. It really is great to know. But no amount of courses you buy, books you read, or advice videos you watch will, as a formula, bring you success on YouTube. So they should be telling you that. But still, we all have the same chance. Just remember your passion. Put the guru advice into play. You can prove this whole video wrong, get massive views on all your works, reach 1 million+ subscribers, and enjoy YouTube's success. But still, only if you're lucky.